Hi, today we are going to be talking about lesson 1.2.2. So find this in your lesson packet. We're going to be talking about translations and reflections. So first we need to make sure we understand the notation that will be used. So this is a translation. Another word for a translation is a slide. So if you look, this, and I know it looks like a square, but you cannot assume that it's a square. We can never assume that these are right angles or that these lengths are the same. So I'm going to say this quadrilateral, four-sided figure, moves from here to here. So A is in the top left, and it stays in the top left here in the new figure. We call the first one, the first shape is called a pre-image, and the second shape is the image. This is the after you do the translation or reflection or rotation or whatever you're doing. So the image is the new shape. So see how A stays in the same position, and B stays in the same position, top right, C, and D. The whole shape was a slide. You just slide it over to get from this one to this new one, from the pre-image to the image. So that's a translation. Now here, let's look at what happens here. And I want to make sure we understand the notation. So let me back up a second. To keep track of how vortices correspond, we call the image A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. We read those with primes. That's the notation we use for the image. So A maps to A prime, B maps to B prime, and so on. Okay, so this is a different transformation. It is not a translation. Let's look and see if we can figure out what it is. A over here goes all the way over to here, A prime. B goes a shorter distance to B prime. C goes a shorter distance to C prime. And D goes all the way over here to D prime. So these flip over here. So this is a reflection. And the line of reflection would have to be right here, exactly halfway in between B and B prime and C prime. So we're flipping this shape over this line to get this shape. This is my line of reflection, and this is the reflection. Now, in the next question, they're telling you they want to do a rotation. So this is a rotation. This shape, ABCD, is going to rotate to this shape. And we're supposed to label where the points end up. So A moves 180 degrees about this line, or about this point. So it's going to turn. Let me take this paper and turn it. A, if I rotate it, it starts in the upper left. If I rotate 180 degrees, which means halfway, now A is in the lower right-hand corner. So I'm going to label A prime as the lower right-hand corner. A goes to A prime. It would go from here, 2 90-degree moves would give me 180. B is easier to see because they gave me this dotted line to connect. So B would go to B prime. But you can see top right goes to that location. So C would go 2 moves, 2 corners, and then D prime would be here. So I have labeled with my correct notation A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. Okay, now I'm at the bottom of the page, example 1. Figure ABCD has the vertices. A is the point 1, 2. I'm going to graph that, 1, 2. B is 3, 3. C is 4, negative 1. And D is 1, negative 2. So I have graphed A, B, C, D, and I've graphed that shape. Now, I'm going to predict, what do I think will happen to all the points if I do this translation? Translate is a slide. So if I do every point xy goes to x plus 4, y minus 2, I want you to predict. Don't listen to what I'm going to say. What do you think will happen to x plus 4? Write it down. Really write it down. Don't just pretend you're writing it down. Write it down. And y minus 2, make a prediction. So now we're going to figure it out. I'm going to take every number for x, 1, and I'm going to add 4. 1 plus 4 is 5. I'm going to do all the x's first. What is 3 plus 4? 7. What is 4? This x coordinate, 4 plus 4 is 8. And 1 plus 4 is 5. Now I'm going to do y minus 2 for all the y coordinates. 2 minus 2 is 0. 3 minus 2 is 1. Negative 1 minus 2 is negative 3. And negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. So those are my new points. And see how they're labeled with primes? So I'm going to graph them. A now is 5, 0, and I'm going to call that A prime. B prime is 7, 1. I'm actually going to scooch over my letter because it's in the way. A prime, 7, 1. B prime. C prime is 8, negative 3. And D prime is 5, negative 4. There's my new shape. You notice it's the same size and shape. It was just a slide. So how did it move? How many over did it go? It went right. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 2. B went right 1, 2, 3, 4, down 2. C went right 1, 2, 3, 4, down 2. And D went right 4, down 2. You can count that in the graph. So it went right 4, down 2. Look at this. Right 4, down 2. You know that the x-axis goes left and right. So wouldn't it make sense that the x number would move it left and right? And you know that the y-axis, this is your y-axis, goes up and down. So wouldn't it make sense that the y change would go up and down? So there you go. All right, next page. Graph WXYZ with those points. Pause it. Pause the video right now. Graph it. Make sure you know how to graph points and then resume to check. So W is negative 1, 2. X is 2, 3. Y is 5, 0. Z is 1, negative 1. So I have this quadrilateral. And I am going to graph it with this translation, x minus 1, y plus 3. X minus 1. Let's take all these x numbers and subtract 1. Negative 1, and I'm going to use the proper notation, w goes to w prime. X goes to x prime. Y goes to y prime. Z goes to z prime. So now I'm going to figure out my numbers of my points. All the x numbers, you subtract 1. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. 2 minus 1, right? 2 minus 1 is 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. 1 minus 1 is 0. Then I'm going to take all the y numbers and add 3. 2 plus 3 is 5. 3 plus 3 is 6. 0 plus 3 is 3. -1 plus 3 is 2. So now I'm going to graph the new points, and I'm going to label them primes. -2, 5. 1, 6 is x prime. 4, 3 is y prime, and 0, 2 is z prime. So I'm going to connect, and I get the new figure. And it's the same size and shape. It just was a slide. How did it move? How do you get from W to W prime? How do you have to go? You have to go left 1, up 3. Left 1, up 3. Left 1, up 3. Again, my x-axis is left and right. Positive adds, negative subtracts. So x minus 1 is going to be left 1. My y-axis is up and down. Up adds, negative subtracts. Down subtracts. So y plus 3 is going to be up 3. So when I tell you to give me the words, you have to tell me left or right, up or down, and how many units. Don't tell me over. It's left or right, up or down. All right, so now we're going to try it the other way. We're going to come up with the rule. You're going to give me this, the rule. So ABCD has coordinates -3, 7. So -3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 7. 2, 1. And -3, 1. Here's my shape. My new shape is at A prime -5, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So there's A prime. B prime is 0, 3. C prime is 0, -3. And D prime is -5, -3. D prime. All right, see if you could figure out the rule. How did it move? How did it move in words? Notice I'm labeling A, B, C, D, and A prime, B prime, C prime, D prime. So how did it move in words? Well, it moved from A to A prime. It went left, 1, 2, and then it went down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Left 2, down 4. Left 2, down 4. They're all the same. So left 2, down 4. So now I need to write a rule. A rule looks like this up at the top, X, Y, arrow, and then you're going to write what happens to the points. So you start with X, Y in parentheses, like a point, right? Every point, X, Y, moves to what? What does X, or what does left look like? We know that left and right go off of the x-axis. So left 2, left is negative x minus 2. Up and down go off of the y-axis. Up, positive, down, negative. So if it's down 4, my rule is y minus 4. So left 2, down 4. This is how I write a rule. I hope